Today, we're counting down the 10 most outrageous, most opulent, most gloriously over-the-top American luxury cars of the 1970s. Let's go back in time. Number 10, 1975 Imperial LeBaron Crown. Original price, $9,277. We're starting the countdown with the last of a dying breed. The 1975 Imperial LeBaron Crown holds a bittersweet place in American automotive history. It was the final model before Chrysler quietly folded the prestigious Imperial nameplate back into the New Yorker lineup, ending a legacy that had defined American luxury for decades. And Chrysler made sure it went out in style. The standard engine was a 440 cubic inch V8, the kind of power plant that consumed fuel like a thirsty bison on a hot day, but made moving 5,300 pounds of American steel feel effortless and unhurried. Power steering, power brakes, power windows, power seats. If it could be motorized, Chrysler motorized it. That was just the baseline. Step inside, and the experience shifted completely. Button-tufted loose pillow leather seats, thick carpeting underfoot, opera windows framing the rear, and enough fake wood trim to make a lumberjack reconsider his career choices. This was wall-to-wall luxury in the most literal sense. At $9,277 when new, the Imperial LeBaron Crown was serious money in 1975. And with only around 1,641 two-door Crown Coupes ever built that year, it's a genuinely rare piece of American luxury history today. Not a bad send-off for one of Chrysler's most distinguished names. Number 9, 1978 Oldsmobile Toronado. Original price, about $10,000. The Oldsmobile Toronado made history when it launched in 1966 as one of the first American cars to use front-wheel drive in the modern era. A genuinely bold engineering choice that turned heads across the industry. But by 1978, the Toronado had evolved into something rather different, something softer, something that had traded its daring edge for something arguably more appealing to its buyers, an absolute commitment to comfort. The 1978 Toronado was draped in luxury appointments, velour upholstery plush enough to swallow small objects whole, faux wood trim executed with enough conviction that you genuinely had to remind yourself it wasn't real, and a ride quality so smooth, so isolated, so disconnected from the outside world that owners described it as floating rather than driving. Power came from a 403 cubic inch V8, making a leisurely 190 horsepower. This was not a car in a hurry. The Toronado was about long highway miles in supreme comfort, not traffic light drag races. And at over $10,000 when new, buyers were more than happy to pay for that magic carpet experience. One last detail that every Toronado owner eventually discovered: those doors were enormous, and they were heavy. The affectionate nickname that stuck among the community was bank vault doors, and owners joked that daily entry and exit was doing more for their arm strength than any gym membership. Number 8, 1976 Cadillac Eldorado Convertible. Original price, $11,049. In 1976, Cadillac made an announcement that sent waves through the collector car world before a single buyer even placed an order. They declared that the 1976 Eldorado Convertible would be the very last convertible Cadillac would ever produce. Full stop. Open-air motoring, as far as General Motors was concerned, was finished. The response was predictable. Buyers rushed the dealerships. The sunroof crowd went into a mild panic. And the 1976 Eldorado Convertible became, almost overnight, a collector's item before it was even a used car. The hardware backing up all that drama was substantial. A massive 500 cubic inch V8, the largest production passenger car engine of its era, drove the Eldorado forward with authority, even if the 190 horsepower figure was somewhat underwhelming given the displacement. But horsepower wasn't really the point. The point was leather seats, fiber optic warning indicators, automatic climate control, power everything, and the specific pleasure of dropping the top on a warm afternoon knowing you were driving what Cadillac said was their last word on the convertible. At $11,049 new, an amount that could have purchased a modest home in parts of the country at the time, the Eldorado Convertible was a serious luxury purchase. Cadillac produced about 14,000 of them, which diluted the now or never urgency just a little. And then, in 1984, Cadillac brought convertibles back. Some owners, lovingly preserved under plastic wrap, were reported to have taken the news rather personally. Number 7, 1977 Lincoln Versailles. Original price, $11,500. By 1977, Lincoln's product team had spotted a trend. Compact luxury cars, smaller, more efficient, but still premium, were finding buyers. European brands had been doing it for years. so Lincoln made a decision. They were going to build one too. The Lincoln Versailles was the result. And to say it was built on the bones of the Ford Granada is accurate, but that description rather undersells the transformation that Lincoln's designers attempted. The Versailles arrived dressed in its best formal attire, a padded vinyl roof, wire wheel covers, a waterfall grille doing its finest impression of a baby Continental, and a level of interior softness that genuinely earned the Lincoln badge. Plush leather seating, deep pile carpeting, wood grain trim, padded surfaces seemingly everywhere your hand might land. The Versailles also made a small piece of automotive history. It was the first American production car to offer clear coat paint, adding both depth of shine and long-term durability to the finish. That's a genuine engineering milestone, even if critics at the time preferred to focus on the Granada connection. And focus on it they did. The Granada in a tuxedo nickname followed the Versailles throughout its life. The joke wasn't entirely unfair. Under all that Lincoln finery, the mechanical relationship was obvious to anyone who looked closely. But for buyers who wanted Lincoln luxury in a smaller, more manageable package, the Versailles offered something real: the comfort, the refinement, and the nameplate, in a size that felt more appropriate for the changing times. Number 6. 1977 Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham. Original price, $11,546. 1977 was a pivotal year at General Motors. After years of building increasingly massive automobiles, the pressure of fuel economy standards and changing consumer sentiment finally forced a rethink. GM downsized its entire full-size lineup, and the Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham lost nearly a foot of length and over 800 pounds compared to its 1976 predecessor. For any other brand, that might have felt like a retreat. For Cadillac, they made sure it felt like an upgrade. The 1977 Fleetwood Brougham still delivered everything its buyers expected, perhaps more so because the diet actually improved the car's handling and efficiency without visibly compromising the experience. The interior remained a showcase of American luxury excess, more velour than a velvet factory, chrome trim applied with genuine enthusiasm, carpeting deep enough to lose small pets in, and the optional elegance package elevated the already lavish interior further still. Button-tufted pillow-top seating, even thicker carpeting, and wood trim that suggested someone had raided a high-end furniture showroom. Visually, the downsized Fleetwood still commanded respect. The long hood, the formal roofline, the regal proportions. Cadillac's designers did their homework and made sure the car looked every inch the flagship. It was the same dream in a slightly smaller package, and in 1977, that was exactly the right move. Number 5. 1979 Lincoln Continental Town Car. Original price, from $12,100. By 1979, Lincoln had spent years perfecting the science of making buyers feel important, and the Continental Town Car represented the absolute peak of that discipline. This was the final year of the truly massive full-size platform, stretching more than 233 inches from bumper to bumper. For context, that's longer than many studio apartments. Lincoln wasn't building cars anymore. They were building experiences. The Town Car nameplate had started its life as a premium trim level of the Continental line, but 1980 would see it spin off into its own standalone model. In 1979, though, it still wore the Continental badge with full ceremony, and the interior reflected every bit of that heritage. Deep pile carpeting, twin comfort lounge seats that reclined like living room furniture, wood grain applied generously and convincingly. A Cartier-branded clock on the dash, because if you're going to check the time, you may as well do it in style. Chrome details that caught sunlight from every angle, and power everything, including features most cars didn't even offer, powered vent windows among them. Starting at $12,100, the 1979 Town Car was a significant financial commitment. But for buyers who were climbing into that cabin, settling into those seats, and feeling that long wheelbase isolate them from every bump and vibration in the road, the price felt entirely reasonable. Number 4. 1978 Cadillac Seville Elegante. Base price, about $14,000. Elegante package, about $17,500. The Cadillac Seville had arrived in 1976 as something genuinely new for the brand. A smaller, more sophisticated luxury sedan aimed at buyers who wanted Cadillac quality in a more European proportion. By 1978, the Seville was finding its stride, and the Elegante trim took the concept to its logical conclusion. Everything about the Elegante trim was deliberate: the two-tone paint scheme, the unique pinstriping, the brushed chrome moldings that caught light at just the right angle. and inside, a leather and cloth interior combination that felt less like an automobile interior and more like the reading room of a very tasteful private club. Under the hood, the Seville carried a 350 cubic inch V8 equipped with electronic fuel injection, a genuinely sophisticated piece of technology for 1978, when most competitors were still relying on carburetors. The 170 horsepower output was modest, but the delivery was smooth and confident, and the electronic injection made the Seville noticeably more refined to live with day to day. What the marketing materials didn't shout about was the Seville's platform origins, the same basic architecture as the Chevrolet Nova. Cadillac's engineering and design teams had done such a thorough job transforming it that you'd never know without researching it, and for buyers writing checks in the range of $17,500 for the Elegante package, the execution clearly justified the investment. This was Cadillac operating at its most carefully crafted. Number 3, 1978 Lincoln Continental Mark V Diamond Jubilee Edition. Original price, $20,999. Now we're getting into genuinely extraordinary territory. The 78 Mark V Diamond Jubilee Edition was created to celebrate Ford Motor Company's 75th anniversary, and Lincoln was absolutely not going to let that milestone pass with a standard press release and a commemorative badge. They were going to build something that justified the occasion. The Diamond Jubilee Edition started at $20,999, nearly double the cost of a standard Mark V at the time, and enough to rank it among the most expensive American production cars of its day. What did that money buy? 2 exclusive exterior colors, Diamond Blue and Jubilee Gold, both executed in deep metallic paint that shimmered in a way ordinary paint simply couldn't. Color-keyed aluminum turbine wheels, thickly padded Landau vinyl roofs. Inside, genuine walnut accents, not the wood grain applique found in lesser cars, but actual walnut. Rich velour upholstery or buttery soft leather, depending on the buyer's preference. And a level of appointment detail that made contemporary Cadillacs feel slightly underdressed by comparison. Lincoln's original plan was to produce exactly 5,000 Diamond Jubilee units, a number that would ensure exclusivity and collector interest. But demand ran ahead of the plan, and just over 5,100 eventually left the factory. Still rare, still special, and still one of the most spectacular expressions of American luxury excess from the entire decade. Number 2, 1976 Stutz Blackhawk. Original price, $47,500. Here's where the list leaves the realm of mainstream luxury and enters something altogether different. The Stutz Blackhawk wasn't built by a major automaker. It wasn't sold in dealership showrooms. It was assembled by hand, painstakingly over approximately 1,500 hours per vehicle, in Italy, where expert craftsmen transformed a Pontiac Grand Prix platform into something that occupied a category essentially by itself. The Stutz Motor Car Company had revived the once legendary American luxury mark in 1971, and by 1976, the Blackhawk had fully cemented its identity as the vehicle of choice for people who had more money than they knew what to do with and wanted everyone to know it. The interior was decadence made physical. Mink carpeting was available as an option. Actual mink. Gold-plated trim was a fixture throughout. Connolly leather seats, the same supplier used by Rolls-Royce and Bentley, came standard. The dashboard featured real English walnut alongside a gauge cluster elaborate enough to suggest the car might be capable of flight. At $47,500 new, nearly triple the cost of a Cadillac Eldorado and sufficient to purchase several average American homes, the Blackhawk attracted a very specific kind of buyer. Elvis Presley purchased the very first production car off the line. Frank Sinatra owned one. Evel Knievel, Sammy Davis Jr. The Blackhawk's client roster reads like a 1970s celebrity tabloid. One final detail, Elvis famously crashed his first Blackhawk. His response was to immediately order another one, because apparently nothing else in the world matched the King's specific requirements for excess and style. Number 1, 1979, Claney Series 1 Roadster. Original price, $55,000. And at the very top of our list, we have a car that most people have never heard of, and that's exactly what makes it so extraordinary. The Claney Series 1 Roadster was the creation of French-born designer Alain Claney, who had a specific and ambitious vision to recreate the elegance and drama of the great pre-war luxury roadsters, those swooping, running board-equipped, long-hood masterpieces from the 1930s, but with all the modern conveniences that actually made them enjoyable to live with. Power steering, air conditioning, reliability. The romance of the past with none of its inconveniences. The mechanical foundation was a Lincoln Continental chassis with a Ford 351 V8 providing power, but the Clinet experience was defined by what was built around it. Each car was hand-assembled in California, taking the American mechanical underpinnings and clothing them in a body that genuinely looked like it had arrived from a different era. Long hood, sweeping fenders, running boards, chrome everywhere, used with conviction rather than excess. Inside, the Clinet delivered on its luxury promise without compromise. Genuine Connolly leather seats, plush wool carpeting, burled walnut trim, the attention to material quality and hand craftsmanship was evident in every detail. This was a car that didn't merely suggest luxury, it proved it, stitch by stitch. At $55,000 new, the Clinet was the most expensive vehicle on this entire list, by a significant margin in terms of what it represented relative to the market. Only around 250 examples were ever built across the series, each one unique in its handcrafted specificity. Buyers were Hollywood celebrities, society figures, and anyone who wanted something that no neighbor, no rival, and no passing stranger would ever have seen before. The Clinet didn't follow trends, it invented one. If you enjoyed this trip back through the most excessive decade in American automotive history, hit that like button. It costs nothing, and it genuinely helps more car fans find videos like this. And if you're not subscribed yet, join the family.